I have a very devious idea of just sitting and talking into the video like this because this microphone is just it's too cute. Hey, hello, welcome back to the couch. Welcome back to this YouTube channel. Noah says hi. She's stretching and she's sleeping. She's having a good day. But in this video, we'll talk about the vegetables that we've chosen to plant in the garden, and also I'll lay out a little bit of a plan of how we're planning to put it in all of it in the ground. So, firstly, I want to preface all of this by saying that we have decided that we will do raised. We will sorry, we won't do raised beds. Almost promised something we're not doing. We won't do raised flower beds or vegetable beds. I'll insert a couple of pictures if you don't know what they are, but they're getting increasingly popular everywhere. But there are two reasons why we plan on not doing them. And the first one is because the soil in the garden is quite fruitful. So there's no reason to avoid it. It's not too clay, it's not too sandy, it's just right. There has been a garden there before, so we should be in the green. And secondly, those raised beds, raised vegetable beds or garden beds, they are very aesthetically pleasing, but they're also expensive to make because you need the wood, the material to make the frame of it. You need to buy the extra soil to put inside. And since we're planning to have like 16 square meters of garden, it would be very expensive, or at least I think it would be very expensive to kind of make all of the make it all work. So I hope the decision won't backfire, but this is where we stand now. And moving into the vegetable section of the video, we have come up with a list of veggies we want to have in our garden. Well, veggies and some fruit. And it was very kind of easy to do actually. Both Alberto and I, we made a list or multiple lists of must-haves, non-negotiables, nice-to-haves, and yeah, we just wrote them down, cross-checked, cross-referenced our lists, and there were a lot of things that were overlapping. And at the end, we are able to put absolutely everything that was on our list in the garden to bring it to life, with one exception, and that's potatoes, because the garden is not big enough to have like a proper dedicated area for potatoes. And I come from a potato country. They're very near and dear and close to my heart, so I hope next year we'll have some space to also have potatoes in the garden. And another thing we won't have in our garden is herbs, apart from mint that we're growing for tea, is because we want herbs closer to home, like next to our house. And if you've seen the previous videos, you know that the garden is like a 5-minute drive away from where we live. And herbs, you kind of want immediate access to them when you're cooking, when you're preparing something to like garnish. If you would have them in the garden and then it would take them like home all the time, they would wither, get bad, and everything. So we made a decision that we'll make like a flower pot, like we'll take a big flower pot or something and plant the herbs there. Of course, I'll make a video about it so you can see. But yeah, that's the current plan, and I'll do a bit of Casey Neistat to for the rest of the video. So the garden we're looking currently to build is 8 times 2 meters, and it's like more than 2 meters this direction, and I think it's more than 8 meters this direction. But we want to have like a footpath in the middle, and we want to cover it with wood chips or something similar to prevent the weeds from going out and make our lives a bit more easier. And then the whole thing, we just would like to split it in 16 uh, 16 square meters and just work the whole thing in square meters. So this is the list of veggies we want to plant. If you want to, you can pause the video and see all the details. Here's a column of how many of the plants you can fit in 1 square meter, how much you need per person, and then the grand total of how many square meters we want to use for this purpose. Pumpkins are a bit specific because we want to plant the pumpkins in the compost pile. That was a tip from Nonorino. Just a side note here, even though it's just Alberto and me, and like obviously not doing the garden, we are planning to harvest or hoping to harvest enough to also share some with Alberto's parents, grandparents, aunts. So that's why the numbers might seem a bit excessive for 2 people. But it's just, yeah, we want to kind of spread the love, spread the veggies. Let's go back. So, as I said, we're planning to do the whole thing in the squares of 1 square meter. There are many articles, like these ones popping up on the screen right now, that tell you about like complementary plants that you can plant like closer together and mix them up so it's not like a strict division. But I think it would be a bit exaggerated for us for this year to try to attempt at something like that. So this time around, we want to keep it simple. Also, one thing to consider is if we'll take a look of the list of veggies we have here, a couple of them like tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, bell pepper, cucumber, sugar snaps, and chili probably. They are the type of veggies that need kind of structural support because they're climbing up and instead of just like plainly growing from the ground. So that's something to take into consideration when kind of putting it on the map or the blueprint or the plan, whatever. And then this is east facing, this is west, this is south, and this is north. And the sun kind of goes over the whole thing. So there's no place in the whole garden that is in a particular shade. And yeah, but we have to be careful about the structural fencing supports and everything to make sure that really there's no kind of real shade created and all of the veggies get direct sun. Another thing that I actually cross-checked and cross-referenced, that all of these veggies, apart from maybe some specific seeds that we might buy, they are fine with being in direct sun because yeah, I would assume that some of them are more kind of shadow loving or something like that, but apparently all of the ones that we picked this year, they're completely fine with being in the direct sun. So I will take a minute of putting everything down and then introduce you to the garden. So here we are. This is the OG blueprint for the garden. It's ready, but obviously it's subject to change because also Alberto has not seen it yet. I hope I get a big fat stamp of blueprint approval. I did end up dedicating a bit more space for cauliflower. It was only anticipated that we would have half a square meter for it, but I think it's just good enough to have its own like have its own place in the garden, like a bigger place. And yeah, that's about it. Next steps: going to the garden center, buying seeds and seedling boxes, and then we need to start sowing already. So it's super cool, super exciting. I think when you actually see something coming out of the ground, it's very satisfying, and then you actually feel like you're doing something. It's not just talk, it's not just digging stuff. You can actually see something coming to life. So excited for that. Stay tuned. Of course, we'll document everything, and fingers crossed everything goes according to plan. So see you next time. Bye.